Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds, and it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else.
Tracking macros is simply measuring the amounts of your carbs, fats, and protein that go into your body. You can do that eating keto, eating high protein, low carb, eating whatever you want to eat, eating junk food. You can track your macros eating ice cream and Snicker bars all day long. Yeah, McDonald's, exactly. And so it's just optimizing those and having that balanced approach that's going to be the key to making it work for you.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today, we're thrilled to have Lindsey Matthews, also known as Trainer Lindsey on social media. Lindsey is not just a fitness coach, she is a storyteller of personal transformation, and I'm super excited to have her on the show today. I can't wait to hear about the competitive fitness that you did to overcoming your own health challenges, your journey into understanding hormones and gut health. It's inspiring and also transformative and informative. So today she's going to share her highlights with us and her balanced approach to health and wellness. Lindsey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, Nikki.
Yes, cool. So let's dive right into it.
Yeah.
Recently, man, I just found out you and I have very similar stories when it comes to competition days.
I know. It's so crazy, right?
Yeah, wild. So go ahead. Why don't you just share with us? I want to know selfishly too a little bit more about what your journey looked like, but the audience as well. They want to hear more about you. So open up, share about your story, why you started, competition days, what you experienced with what you're going to share.
Yeah, perfect. So let me back up just a little bit. When I started in fitness, so to speak, I put that in quotes, in the fitness industry, I was really just kind of looking for a job that I could do from home to make some extra money for my family, help kind of, we had a very young family at the time. I started coaching in 2004, actually, before online training was even a thing, and I wanted to be a trainer, but I did not want to be a trainer in the gym because I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something from home. And so a lot of my story was built on insecurity and being afraid to take the next step. And so I really wanted to get certified as a coach or a trainer, but I was really insecure with how I looked. And I felt like I did not look the part of what a trainer is, quote, supposed to look like, right? And I feel like nowadays that's, people go more for the healthy approach, but I'm talking 2004 or 5 when I just thought you needed to be lean and ripped all the time in order to call yourself a fitness trainer, right? And so I decided to do it. I decided to go for it. I did end up getting a job at a gym for a little bit just to get more in-person experience connecting with people, knowing how to motivate them, knowing how to push them, that kind of thing. I feel like a lot of that experience really comes from being with people in person, and then you can translate that to online, but oftentimes you can't just start that online. Do you know what I mean?
Totally, 100%. Yeah.
I
agree. And you need to have the personal experience, in my personal opinion, so that you know how to work with those clients in a totally different arena when it comes to the online space.
Yeah. And then once you know how to do it, it's super easy to adapt to online. But I feel like it's hard to just jump in online if you've never really, done that in person, or at least harder. Not saying you can't do it. And I remember a couple little stories. I was working at this tiny little gym. It was an Anytime Fitness. Do you have those where you are? Anytime Fitness? Is that nationwide? Okay. Yeah. And so I was working there, and I specifically got a job there because I was like, it won't be very crowded. I'll go there because I don't want people to see me. I was super embarrassed still. Anyways, I was working there. And a friend told me, she was like, well, you should start boot camps. This was in 2007. She was like, this is where fitness is going, small group training or even large group training, but not just teaching fitness classes, my own business boot camps. And I was like, there is absolutely no way that you would ever find me working out in front of people with the microphone up on the stage or a landing, just being in front of people. There is absolutely no way. But that seed was kind of planted, right? And I went home and I was like, well, what could it look like? And I'm a big like visionary. I get the ideas and I like to, brainstorm and come up with fun things and just make everything, kind of gamify everything. That's kind of how my brain works. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And if I can get 8 people to sign up, then I'm going to do this. And so I remember I put it out there, and by putting it out there, keep in mind, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram. It meant like I flyered my neighborhood on the doors, and I like hired teenagers to help me put out flyers like at the library and the car wash and all that kind of stuff. And I remember the day that the 8th person signed up, I was like, had a panic attack. I was like, oh my gosh, I really have to do this now, because I told myself if I had 8 people, I would do it. And this was back in 2007. And I did this for 8 years till 2015. And it grew from those 8 people in our neighborhood clubhouse kind of area into the last session I did, we had 150 people in a big gymnastics facility. So it was so much fun, such a good part of my life that really, kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone, helped build my confidence. It was amazing. So it was during those years, gosh, I think it was 2009. This is embarrassing. This is the story of my first competition, and it's awful embarrassing. Okay. So I remember I felt like I looked so good, right? Everybody does before they go to a competition. And they're like, oh gosh, that's a whole nother level, right? And so this was in 2009, and I went to our local university here, and they had a bod pod. Do they do those still anymore? It was like, body fat testing, air displacement versus like, however they do it with other things. And so I remember I went and got that test, and it told me that I was 18% body fat. And I thought I was like the queen of being so lean. I was like, oh my gosh, I've never been so lean before in my entire life. I am good. So anyway, I went to do that. And then I went to the gym right after, and I was in the bathroom, and there was a flyer for a bodybuilding competition. I was like, sweet, I should do that. When is it? Oh, it's Saturday. Awesome. Okay. I was like, I'm 18% body fat. I can do a competition on Saturday.
Oh, this is hilarious.
Yeah. So this is how little I knew about the whole world of competing. Granted, it was in 2009. The bikini division had just come out that same year. And so it was a much softer look, but still, that doesn't justify what I did. And so I
like what, 5 days, 4 days?
I didn't even know what a prep was. I got some clear heels at probably like a stripper store. I don't even remember.
I'm dead.
I bought my spray tan on Amazon. I applied it myself, and I knew enough to go to one posing class at a local coach here. And I was like, wait, I don't posing, like what is this? So I'm like, okay, you put your toe out, like, okay, got it, and and everybody was wearing like suits off the rack at the time. So I did have a little scrunch bum, like this was way back, but my suit was not good at all. And I remember I showed up to the show that Saturday. I think I had 8 days or whatever. It was like the Friday before, the weekend before. And I was like, oh, what have I done? And I was like, do I turn around and go home? Oh my gosh, my tan that looked so dark in my bathroom was obviously like nothing close to what I needed, And I was like, no, I'm going to see this out. And I went up on stage. I got last place. I mean, to be a little bit fair to me, they weren't super lean. Like I was definitely last place, but it wasn't like I don't know. It wasn't like doing the same thing like nowadays. You know what I mean? It was very in the early days, but still. So I went through with it, and it was mortifying, probably one of the most embarrassing experiences of my life. But I left there thinking like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Like, what could I do if I really tried? Like, let me learn more about this and, figure this out and see what I could do if I actually like applied myself and did a prep. Because by then I knew what the word prep actually meant, not just like, walking on stage. And so this was in November. And so I knew nothing about an off season, an on season. Like didn't know anything about that. And so I was like, oh, the next show here in Salt Lake City is in March. So I'm going to do that one. And so I hired, he's a pretty well-known coach, or at least he was at the time back in like 2010, 11. But he was $30 a month.
Oh my gosh.
And you get what you pay for, right? And so he was hardly a coach. I just had no idea what I was even looking for, right? And so he gave me a meal plan and did a check-in every 3 weeks. And the check-in was basically like, how are you feeling? Okay, cool. Here's your new meal plan, which I guarantee all his clients got the same meal plan. I mean, for $30 a month, that's all you can expect, right? And it was awful. I joke sometimes, like, there was tuna for breakfast, like no mayo, no bread, just like a can of tuna. And I was like, tuna, like, am I just supposed to open this and eat it with a fork? Like, what do I do with this? You know? And that was a horrible experience. But I did come in a little bit better. I think I placed like top 3 or something. And then I was trying to prepping myself for a few shows. I placed top 3. I mean, granted, these are small local shows. That doesn't really mean anything that I placed top 3. But I slowly just, to cut to the kind of the bulk of the story, this was in 2010, 11. I competed in bikini until 2012. And then I took a couple years off. In 2014, I was like, I want to do this again, but I want to try the figure division. Now, granted, at that time, figure looked how bikini does now, right? It was not as big and muscular as it is now. And so I hired another coach. I did things, my calories stay high. I did it really healthy. I didn't really have a lot of negative hormonal implications at that time. From 2014, 15, I went to nationals. I didn't place at nationals, but it was just kind of a fun experience. And then I was like, okay, I'm done in 2016. So 16, 17 pass, and 2018 rolls around. And I was like, I'm just kind of bored. Maybe I'll just try it again, but go back to the bikini division, which is where, kind of the same look I was going for before, but the divisions had changed, right? And so this was kind of when it all went down. So, which is the same year as you, right? 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, that's so funny. And so I told myself I was going to do one show. And so we started prep in January. Interesting thing, I still haven't quite figured this out, but my calories started high. I remember I lost my period in January. So like 2 weeks into prep. I still don't really know why. Maybe it was the stress of like my body knew what was coming. I don't really understand why I lost it so early before I got super lean or my calories dropped super low, but that did happen. I did not have my period that entire year. I remember it came back on Christmas Day. And I was like, this is the greatest Christmas present I could ever have was to get my period back, but that's jumping ahead. So
Wow,
I was going to do
realize how stories. I didn't share that on your podcast, but that's the same thing that happened to me, and around the same time my period came back too as well.
No way.
Yeah, wild. That's crazy. But go ahead, keep going.
That is so crazy. Interesting. Yeah, so I was going to do one show. It was going to be in June. But of course, as time goes on, you're like, well, why just do one show? I'm doing all this prep. Might as well do one more, like right around the same time. And so I decided to do one in Idaho the week before. I won that one. And then, of course, you get kind of all in your head, and the judge is like, you should go to nationals. And you're like, oh, really? Do you think I should? Oh, yes, you should. Like, it's the whole story, right? In your head. And then I went to the next one and I won that one as well. And so I was like, okay, let's just do it. Let's just see. I'm already here. I've already done all this work. Might as well just see what happens, right?
What was the time difference in between those two shows?
Just 1 week. It was a Saturday and the next Saturday. And so that was the whole plan. And I truly believe if I would have stopped there, I would have been fine, because I was so lean. So I'm 5'6". I normally hang out like 140 to 145 or so. I was down to, by this show, like 120, 125. And so it was lean for me. And to just get there and like touch it probably would have been fine. But to hang out there all summer like I did, I believe that's what did me in,
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, let's go to nationals. So I did one show as more of like the practice, placed 11th. And then I was like, okay, that was just the practice. We're going to do a Masters one. So I went to Masters, whichever one's first, Masters Nationals, or the other one that North Americans. I think Masters Nationals was first. And so I went to that one, and it was first call out, or I was made first call outs. They pulled us out to the front. I wasn't put in the center, never moved. Everybody moved around me. I came off stage. People I knew were like, oh my gosh, you did it. You got first place. You're turning pro, yada, yada. The night show comes around and they call me a second. And I was like, what? I thought it meant I thought it meant that I won if I was in the middle, never moved, all the things. And so again, that lit a fire in me that I was like, I got to do one more. I got to do one more.
Wait, so
Yeah.
you did 2 shows. You did a show, you did the week 1 week later, and then you
Uh-huh.
went to Masters,
And then I went
to North America.
Yep, I went Team Universe, which would, or is that what it's called? I am so out of the competition world nowadays. I don't even remember the names of the shows, but I think it's Team U was like 4 to 6 weeks later. Then the Masters Nationals, I think was like a month later. And then maybe my times are wrong. I can't remember. But the last one I did, so from that time I placed second, I had 6 more weeks. And I was like, should I do it? Should I do it? I decided to do it. And again, this is by the time that last show came around, I was like 115. Like I was so small and so, I don't want to use the word emaciated, but I was just so small. And I did not place well. Well, I placed like 8th. So that's great, of course, but I didn't win like I was hoping to, And so that's where that whole summer, I like to tell people, like, for me, my stress was being so lean. I had time, my calories never went to like 7, 8, 900, like crazy levels like that. I did it in as healthy of an approach as you can, but it's never healthy to stay that lean for so long. And so there's only, you can't really do that in a healthy way, I feel like.
Yeah. Well, where were you at there with your food? Like, what were you eating? And then how much were you training and how much were you doing cardio?
Yeah, that's a great question. And let me try to remember. I feel like I like put it in the back recesses of my mind, like never to relive again,
Yeah. It's
but
wild.
I think
how you think about that. It's like whenever people compete like that with back-to-back shows, it's like a mirage in the desert. It's like,
yes.
It's like,
yes.
You can see what the end point is, but it's like you get closer and you're like, I'm
and it just, yeah. That's like competing in a nutshell, right? You're like, totally. I thought I was there and no, it's still a mile away. Oh my gosh. It's so true. I feel like my calories were 1,200 on a low day, 1,300 most of the time, maybe having some refeeds at 1,500, 1,600. So they're low, but not crazy low, but cardio was, there was a time where my cardio was like 70 minutes, 7 days a week. Yeah, super high. And lifting. I mean, we talked about this on my podcast, but it's like you're lifting for at least an hour, but you've got your body work, you've got your foam rolling, you've got your glute stuff with your ball. Like I don't even, I haven't even like touched that stuff in years. And it's like you bring your heels to the gym and you're posing and like you can't do anything else. It's so consuming. And I remember times like laying on my couch after dinner at night and the kids were like, let's go outside and go swimming or whatever. And I'm like, no. And I just wanted to I wanted to go to bed because I wanted the morning to come so I could have breakfast. I remember thinking those things like, it's so stupid, Yeah, totally. And I was just like a shell of a mom, a shell of a human, And of course at the time you're like, oh, but I look so good. So it's fun and I love it. And at the time you think you love it, but I really feel like I had, yes, you're dying inside, but you don't realize it until after looking back. I think, at least that's how it was for me. Was that how it was for you?
Yeah, totally. 100%. There's so many things that I gained positively from the world of bodybuilding, but also there was a lot of cons as to what we're talking about now. It just felt like once the endpoint was done, I was like praising God that it was over. I'm like, but why did I put myself through all of that for the last 6 months? It's like, I'm sure you can relate.
Yeah, totally. And so that last show comes and goes and I was like, okay, that's fine. That's how this sport rolls. No big deal. We'll try again next year. And so that next year never came because afterwards I did reverse diet. I brought calories back up. And I remember so that last show was early September. I think it was like Labor Day weekend. And by mid-October, I think my calories were about where they usually, my maintenance is approximately 2,000-ish, just, kind of basic. And I got calories back up to there. My weight had come up to really my set point. It was like 135. So I had gained some weight back, which I wanted to. I never wanted to stay that lean as I was, even my husband was like, your butt's gone. Like you're so small,
How fast did that? You were 115 and you just went up to 135. How fast did that incrementally like happen?
Yeah. So I think the 115 was so depleted. And so, gosh, I'm trying to remember. I feel like I gained like 5 to 7 pounds in the first like week or two, but it was just, that was fine with me. It was just like water, food, like, but then it came on pretty fast. like a pound or two a week, I feel like. But again, I wanted it. And so I was prepared for it and I wanted to get back to that healthy place. So I wasn't like sad or discouraged or frustrated or any of those emotions, right? So I got to October and I maintained for probably a month and I was like, cool. I reversed, I maintained, I'm back to where my body likes to be. Let's, move on and do other things for a while, right? And then come like mid-November, my weight started ticking up again. And it went up probably a pound or two a week, Nikki, until July. Like, I am not kidding. I got up to, I think my highest was 165, and I have never been more than like 145, not pregnant. I mean, not like, or not having just had a baby. After I had my babies, I was higher, of course. But I think with my first baby, though, I was like mid 160s. Anyway, numbers are nothing. I'm just trying to paint a picture for people,
Right.
up 25 pounds above to 30 pounds where I was, so where I normally like to be. And so over that year, it was,
What happened? Like, did you do anything different with like, clearly you said you were reversing out and
mhm.
you were getting your calories up to 2000, and then you had like you maintained come that
Mhm.
October, and then from there to July, what happened? Hey, just want to drop a huge appreciation to you guys listening to the show. It means a lot. I hope you guys are enjoying it, and there's so much more to come with it. If you are enjoying it, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate that tons. And also, it would help this podcast reach others who need to hear these messages too.
So many things. I mean, well, my body started gaining and I started freaking out,
Yeah.
and this had never happened to me post show. I mean, I've gained the weight back that I lost in the show, but I've never gained up higher than that. And I think at this time, I don't know if you remember, but there were a lot of people on social media talking about this. I feel like there were a lot of us that had competed in those few years, and a lot of people that were saying like, I gained weight for like a year or something, no matter what I did. I talked to so many people that had said they gained weight for like a year. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so I tried everything over the course of that year. I thought I had, well, I did labs first, of course. And my cortisol was super high. My thyroid was really low. I was estrogen dominant. My progesterone was like tanked. Those were my main issues, I think. Cortisol, sex hormones, testosterone. My testosterone's always been fine, but like my estrogen or my progesterone was really low. Thyroid was really low. Cortisol was super high.
Wow,
So those were kind of
how are you sleeping during that time?
I struggle with sleep like in general, like my whole life, but I was sleeping horribly. And so I worked with, but during that time, I worked with holistic coaches. I tried keto because my gut health was a disaster as well. And so actually, it's interesting. I did strict keto for 6 months, didn't lose a single pound. Actually, I kept gaining. I truly believe I would have gained no matter what I did. And I did lots of things. I did keto to try and help my gut, which it did help my gut a ton. And it made it so it's like when your gut is healthy, your hormones work better, right? Our endocrine systems and our gut is so intertwined. It made it so I was taking way too much thyroid medication. So my free T3, I don't know if your listeners know much about lab numbers, but it's supposed to be like 3 to 4 is a healthy place for your free T3. My free T3 got up to like an 8.2 or something. So my heart was racing all the time. I was super anxious feeling, which again, those kind of things are in line with estrogen dominance and low progesterone as well. So I was just a disaster. And so I tried things, like I said, keto. During that time, I was getting rashes. And so I remember my mom was like, oh, I have the best autoimmune doctor. You should just go to him. And I'm like, I am not going to an autoimmune doctor who is just going to tell me I have an autoimmune disease and I have to take medication for the rest of my life or something. I'm like, I'm going to do everything I can with nutrition and lifestyle to try to fix that before I go see your autoimmune doctor, And so there was actually a time after keto, when I did carnivore. Oh, that was awful, awful, awful. But my rashes went away. I had this sore on my lip that I thought was like cancerous and it wouldn't go away. And when I did this little bout of carnivore, which I didn't even do full out, it was so hard for me, but all that stuff went away. And so I don't know, everything I did, like I don't know what worked and what ended up helping, but I had times where I did not track my macros because I thought maybe the stress of tracking my macros was making things worse, where I just ate more intuitively. I had times where I tried a deficit and that didn't work and my weight just kept ticking up. Like literally nothing I did was working. And I taught until honestly, I truly believe that it was just lifestyle stress, like all of that stress. And I don't know the science behind why it took my body so long to, I mean, you hear people talk about your body needs to trust that you're taking care of it and feel loved, appreciated, all the woo-woo stuff I truly believe is real. And it's like it just took so long after me. It's like a pendulum, right? You swing so much to one side, the extremes, that my body seriously swung to the other side for literally just as long before it found that middle,
And not to mention
So,
so you did all of the dieting world with bodybuilding, and then
mhm,
you did the reverse, but then because you saw your weight incrementally increasing, you
freaked
tried
me
to
out.
it freaked you out. So you
Hmm.
tried to do other things that would maybe supplement, the weight gain by making the reverse happen by you losing weight. And
Uh-huh.
how many things do you think you tried in that span from like October, November to July of the next year?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I didn't do any of nothing with like Optavia or any of the shots. I mean, the shots weren't even out at the time, but like I didn't do anything like that. But nutritionally, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, like so so many things over the course of what,
Your body at
9
that point
months.
probably was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yes.
Because you
Yes.
went from keto to carnivore to
Yeah,
another
back to
little bit in
balanced eating,
between.
yes,
Yeah.
and it was going from a deficit to, "No, this isn't working, let's go back up to maintenance," to, "What am I gonna do? Am I just gonna keep gaining?" And that was my thought. I remember crying on my bed, well, numerous times, but this specific time, and really feeling like, "Is this weight gain ever gonna stop? Am I gonna be, like, over 200 pounds?" Which is, not I'm just using numbers, like, no shade on anyone who is over 200 pounds, of course. But I was like, is my weight just going to keep on going up and up and up and
Yeah,
never,
you're like,
am I
"How
ever
do
going
I
to stop
stop
gaining?
this?" Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you come from a space of just, "How do I stop this and how do I figure it out?" And you were trying to figure it out along the way. So
Yeah.
you got up to, like, 50 pounds overweight, right? That's what you
Yeah.
had shared?
50
Yeah.
pounds over my stage weight. So I gained 50 pounds in that year. And I remember it was early September. And I remember I stepped on the scale. And I measured myself. I stepped on the scale every week. I never really put it in the back of my mind where I was always aware of it, which I think was a good thing because I don't know, it kept it from probably being more, maybe, but it was something I was always stressed about and aware of. So that was probably the downside. But I remember getting on the scale early September and I was down a pound. And I was like, whoa, like that's never happened before. And I, instead of getting my hopes up, I was like, well, it's probably a fluke. It's probably going to be back up 2 pounds next week, And it wasn't. It was down another pound the next week. And I was like, what? Maybe this is like that time where my body has been, I haven't been like in an extreme deficit. I haven't been super lean for like this year. Maybe this is finally starting to work. I don't even know. It's like I really attribute it to just such high stress and there was gut stuff, there was autoimmune things going on, just so
Yeah.
much stuff going on that my body just needed to chill and calm
Yeah.
down, and the first 10 pounds came off fairly easily without really trying. I think I was loosely, I don't even know if I was tracking my macros. I think I was loosely being like, okay, that's approximately 400 calories. Okay, that's approximately, just kind of eyeballing things. And I lost about 10 pounds in a couple months. And then it stayed there. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really still want to stay here. I was still like still 15, 20 pounds above where I wanted to be. And at this point, when my body was responding, my hormones were still kind of a mess. I was trying to do this more holistically. I do take progesterone, but I was, trying to do the rest with, health thyroid supplements, like that kind of thing, just like selenium, magnesium, like that kind of stuff. And so I hired another coach who really specializes in, optimizing hormones naturally, really focusing on the nutrition, lifestyle, exercise kind of aspects and supplementation. And that really started to work for me. Like it was just taking the stress down, cutting out all the cardio, focusing more on mindfulness techniques, spending some time at maintenance, but really just taking supplements based on my lab work. My thyroid was low. And so I took specific vitamins and minerals to help thyroid production, right? Nothing gimmicky, nothing magical, just the basics. And I approached it in kind of like 10-pound chunks. So we reversed again because my calories had gotten kind of a little bit lower, stayed at maintenance for a while, did like a 12 to 15 week diet, lost 10 pounds, spent another like 6 months at maintenance. And this is the part that nobody wants to do, right? Is take a bigger weight loss goal and break it into chunks and spend some time at maintenance in between there. And so that last 20, 25 pounds, it took me probably a year and a half. Could I have done it faster? Maybe, but I wanted to do it slower, in slower diets, maintenance period, diet, maintenance period, right? And I truly believe that's why I've been able to maintain it for like 2.5 years pretty easily, because I did it slower. And it's almost like your body creates that new set point in that maintenance time. And you're like, okay, I'm here, and then you try to lose a little bit more. And then you create that new set point by spending some time at maintenance and then, go again. So that's kind of the whole story. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot to unpack there. I have tons of questions to ask.
Okay.
First of all, I'm going to highlight the fact that you've been in the game for a long time. You've been doing this. You started social media before social media was even cool.
Right.
So just going all the way back to the beginning there.
Yes.
But okay, so I want to unpack a little bit more because we unpacked as we were going there with the competition and leading up to it, training, diet, cardio, all that things. In those, to unpack a little bit more, in the months where you gained all this weight and you were trying different things, you mentioned like once you started to turn it around and start to work with another coach, which I freaking love. Like coaches work with coaches. Like that's what smart coaches
I'm a big believer in coaching for sure.
Yeah. So once you start figuring all that stuff and you're working with that coach, you mentioned that you pulled back on cardio. What else, what besides the things that you were trying nutritionally and trying to eat right and trying to get the weight to come down, what did your training look like during that time? What did your cardio look like during that time? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, for sure. So I started with him and he cut out all cardio, only walking. And it was like I don't mean walking at an incline at the gym. I mean, with my dog around my neighborhood, my heart rate's like 90, 95, like not even exercise. It's just moving really. That was my like quote unquote cardio. He took my training from when I competed, I was lifting usually 6 days a week. He took it down to 3 and specifically told me no failure. He was like, do not go to failure. We're focusing on recovery, rest. You can lift, but you need to have at least, 2 to 3 reps in reserve, like not to failure at all, like a 7 out of 10 on like a 10 scale. And he had me do restorative yoga once a week. And so that was kind of the training aspect. And I did that for probably 6 months before, and he was looking at labs, and what my second set of labs showed improvement. My third set of labs were pretty darn awesome. And so at that point, actually after my second set of labs, he let me go up to 4 days a week of training and let me push a little bit closer towards failure. But I could not add cardio in, or I still don't lift 5 days a week. I'm still at 3 or 4, actually 4 most of the time, but sometimes 3. He let me push harder in my lifting and moved into a calorie deficit after that third set of labs when they looked pretty awesome. And then the weight just came off.
Okay. Can we just put a pin right here?
Yes.
Those that are listening right now, Lindsey, I need you to elaborate a little bit more on what you just shared personally that you changed, because I think a lot of women need to understand that you were doing extremes, right? Mm-hmm. You were training, you were working out, you were doing 6 days a week that you said, you were doing cardio. Were you still doing a ton of cardio post show into like those 6 months that you were gaining the weight? Were you still doing that?
I was doing some, but nothing like what I was doing during competing. I was probably doing maybe 3 or 4 days a week though, for like 30 minutes. Okay. So something that our listeners are probably doing, 30 to 45 minutes a few times a week is what I was doing. And he cut it all out completely.
Oh, that's incredible. So women think that they have to be inside the gym for 2 to 3. I think it's starting to shift in the online space.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
But women always think they look at a body and they're like, oh, that person probably spent a ton of time inside the gym. Mm-hmm. You just shared like your hormones, everything, gut was off, you were gaining weight, you were overtraining, and you were on this extreme side of the scale, right?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then you just elaborated that you cut basically everything in half. You didn't do
Uh-huh.
any cardio and you were training 3 to 4 times a week.
Yes.
What message can you share with women that need to like take that piece of advice and try it in their world? Maybe
Yeah.
they're like struggling with like they don't understand how that works and
Mm-hmm.
how they can still get the same results. Like, what would you share with a listener right now that's like, I am training 7 days a week, I'm doing cardio every single day, I want to train abs 7 days out of the week? Like, they're over here. What could
Yeah.
you share with them that can help them see that they only have to train less, not more, right?
Right. I think that so often people think that, like you just said, that more is better, and I think a lot of that comes down to maybe not for every, but like a calories burn perspective. Like, oh, I need to do
Yeah.
more cardio so I can burn more calories. I need to lift so I can burn more calories. Even if you don't burn those calories in the lifting session, it's those metabolic boosts 7 days a week. I need all of that in order to either lose the weight or stay lean or whatever. But I like to look at it more, not necessarily as like what's the minimum you can do, but kind of like what's the minimum you can do to see the result that you want to see. Because if you need to increase cardio, you always can. Like we did once I kind of was back to that healthy baseline, we did add some cardio. It's not like you can't or shouldn't ever do anything, but it's
Healthy
like,
baseline. Love that.
yes,
A healthy
yes.
baseline. Until you reached a healthy baseline with your blood work, with your labs, your
Mm-hmm.
hormones, with your everything internally, then that's where you were like, oh, okay, well, I can add a little bit more of things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because, more is sometimes better, but oftentimes getting to those extremes makes it worse because there's
Yeah.
so many hormonal effects that happen that from too much that will prevent you from seeing weight loss. It can slow down your metabolism through so many different ways, with those, high cortisol, which can then lead to so many different hormonal issues that will make it really hard to see results. But cutting that back and doing less is almost like, okay, as opposed to thinking about what do I need for fat loss or for body composition goals, you think, what do I need for your mindset, for your hormones, for your stress levels? And then so many people, this little tangent, will say like, well, I run to help my stress. Like that is my stress relief. And it might be it might be a mental stress relief, but on your body, it's not a stress relief. It is a stress on your body, and you have to manage that and find a moderate place. And that's when you're going to see the best results.
Love that. Love that. That's definitely a key differentiator to understand when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to cardio. Yeah, a lot of people say like I just love to do it because it relieves stress from my
Yeah.
days. But like you got to think if you're already stressed and that you're adding more stress on top of it, you're just like sinking yourself deeper into a hole.
Yeah. Well, and you can find other ways to relieve that mental stress. They might feel harder to you, like meditation, breath work. All of these things are better for a better way, a healthier way to reduce that stress.
Yoga.
But they're hard at first. Yes, yoga. At least that
Yeah.
way you're moving, walking outside,
Yeah.
walking around your neighborhood, out in the sun. Like all these things are really good. And that's something that we do with our clients who really struggle mentally with bringing exercise down, is we let them fill that time in with walking, restorative yoga. So they still kind of feel like they're moving, but it's a lot more moderate.
Yeah, I love that. So, listeners that may be experiencing like weight fluctuations or hormonal issues, what advice would you give them based on your journey? Or like, how do you help clients that experience the same thing?
Yeah, it's really just keeping that long-term perspective. I mean, because I feel like we all know why we have weight fluctuations. That's not really the topic here, but it could be due to so many different things. And so I feel like there's kind of magic in like the 1 year mindset. So when we get clients that are coming on and they give us a year, like that's incredible because it kind of releases the pressure of, what is your weigh-in or your check-in going to be like this week and next week? Because you have just that longer mindset or that longer, mindset and that longer journey to have the phases and change your focus from, okay, this is, we're going to take a break from fat loss. We're going to do a 2-week diet break. If you're just thinking week by week, month by month, that will make you freak out. Right. But if you have this long-term perspective, it's going to be so much easier to kind of shift focuses, shift directions here and there, all with the end goal in mind of reaching your goal and maintaining it.
Amen. Amen, man. I love that. That's what we call it, the long-term game. It's like if you can
Yes,
accept
yes.
that your journey is going to take you 6, 12, 18 months, 2 years, like
Yeah.
you just accept it because that's realistically nobody talk about that because it ain't sexy.
No.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants to
And
hear that kind of stuff. Everyone's
you're
like,
going
it's
to enjoy it so much
gratification.
more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're gonna
for
enjoy it so
sure.
much more. You're gonna be happy because people are like, "Oh, when I get X result, I can be happy then." It's like, yo, can you
Mhm.
just learn to be happy right now and
Yes.
embrace your journey for what it is that you're experiencing and learning and all the new things that you're creating for yourself, and then like you can experience the happiness along the whole journey.
Exactly. And when you
Yeah.
have that long game mindset, like you said, it does kind of force you to find the joy in now. Because
Mhm.
it's easy when you're just thinking short term, oh, I'm doing a 6-week program or whatever. You're like, I'll be happy at the end of the 6 weeks when I can have pizza again and stop eating so much protein or whatever. But if you realize these are lifestyle changes you're making and it's the long game, it kind of forces you to find the joy in the journey.
Yes, I love that. Okay, so obviously you went from the extremes of things, right? As did
Hmm.
I from
Yeah.
bodybuilding world. And we definitely have a lot of similarities in that. And now you're living the world of like a more moderate, balanced
Hmm.
approach to your results, to your journey. So like what does that look like for you? Like what does that mean to you living with a balanced approach with a fitness style, with a fitness lifestyle?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest thing I have in my mind all the time is rest and recovery. Like, for example, last week I had a killer leg day. I was going to hit hamstrings and glutes again like 3 or 4 days later, but I was still super sore. So, guess what? I didn't do it. And like the old me would have been like, no, I got to power through it. Maybe I'll lower my weights. But I was really able to step back and be like, is this better for my legs to do another leg day? Like, no, of course it's not. I'm not recovered yet. So I'm not going to do another leg day.
Mhm.
And same thing. If I didn't get a lot of sleep and I'm super tired, like maybe I got, 4.5, 5 hours of sleep. I have a super crazy day. I'm not going to work out because I'm like, is that better for me? When I'm low on sleep, have a kind of a high stress day to go to the gym and add more stress on top of it. No, that's not better for me. I'm going to work out 3 times that week and just skip today. And so I'm not saying it's on the extreme of you never go to the gym and you never, do these things, but it's being able to step back and be like, what is better for me? As opposed to checking off all the boxes of getting in all my workouts, tracking every macro. It's just finding that balance. If I'm extra hungry one day, if it's around my period and I'm hungrier than I normally eat, I'm going to eat some more food. Am I going to make sure it's healthy food? Yeah, of course. I'm not going to eat a Snickers. I'll have, an apple and a protein shake or whatever it is if I'm in a hurry. But I'm really able to step back and say, what is better for me when it comes to recovery, balance, moderation? I have ice cream almost every night. Do I have a lot of ice cream? No. I have like 3 bites because I know I have it every single night. And so it's fine. Whereas the old me would have eaten a whole pint of ice cream to get it out of the house so I wouldn't be tempted and thinking about it tomorrow. But
Oh, I
when you
love
take
that.
away that restriction and you can have the foods you want whenever you want them, you just don't have that urge to overeat the things most of the time. I mean, of course, sometimes people do, but the ice cream is a good example. I have just a little pint of ice cream in my freezer. And after dessert or after dinner, after dessert, I have dessert and then I have my ice cream.
You have dessert, then dessert.
No, after dinner or like, before bed or whatever, I have like literally like 3 or 4 bites. And I'm like, that was so good. And there's no feeling of needing to overeat that because I don't tell myself I can't have it.
I love that. I'm the same way. I have Dove chocolate almost every single day. I
Yes.
ran out of it, so I need to go get some more.
Oh no, that's the
I know,
worst.
right? I'm like, damn, I really want my Dove chocolate tonight. It's not there. So I
Yes.
typically have either 2 to 4 pieces, whatever I feel like I
Yeah.
need that day.
Uh-huh.
And it literally opens up the world of like, I'm not restricting any type of food. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's really important for people to understand. It's like you can have what you want. It's just like you
Mm-hmm.
can't eat the pint in one sitting
Right.
because
Right.
like I mean, that's what, like 1,000 calories in like one
Yeah.
sitting. So like
Yes.
consciously being aware of that and being aware that
Mm-hmm.
like, is this choice I am making serving me for my future self? Or is it like an act of like, oh, I'm, still leading into the old habits that I've been doing.
Yes. Yes, for
So I love
sure.
that you
I
shared
totally
that because
agree.
yeah, because it's so important. Like you can have the foods that you want, you can enjoy the foods, even if it's a little bit, it's enough to curb the craving. You don't need to
Yeah.
down an entire bag of Dove chocolate.
And then you find that you don't even have those cravings.
Exactly. Can you I feel like with my journey, I was a sugar queen, right? Like
Yes,
before my
same.
journey, I had Smarties in my bedside
Oh my gosh.
table. Oh my God. It was
Oh, I hate Smarties.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love them. They're so good.
You're-
There's a hilarious picture of me at my old work where I'm at the computer and there's just a bag of Smarties right next to me.
Oh my gosh.
I was a sugar queen,
so
man.
funny.
But like thinking about it now, and I'm sure maybe you can relate, it's like I look at that stuff and I know how I feel after I eat it.
Yes.
I feel like shit balls.
Yeah.
It like immediately shift in like my brain and an immediate shift in my like overall energy. Like I just feel like I'm weighed down by that food after that. So it's like once you go a while without consuming it and then you only allow it in moderation, you gain almost like a new respect for it, and then also recognize you don't need it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. And when you tell yourself you can have it, that releases a lot of that, that need for it as well. Because I mean, human nature, if you say you can't have something, that's all you're going to think about. That's totally normal.
It's like me telling you not to think about a pink elephant right now.
Yeah, exactly. I did.
About a pink elephant? It's exactly the same. Yeah, it's
right.
Great point of view right there.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to dive into really quick. You talked about macros before.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on your perspective on tracking of macronutrients?
Yeah, I think tracking macros is almost like built-in moderation. You truly can have whatever you want as long as it's fitting into your targets, right? A lot of times with our clients too, we do what I call a modified macro approach, where we just have them track calories and protein. And that's even better for fitting in the foods that you're craving, you're wanting, that you have on hand. Like, I mean, I have times where I'm just feeling like I want more fats and I don't really care about carbs, and times where it's vice versa, and for probably 90% of our people, that is enough tracking to help them reach their goals. Yes, some people are going to need a little bit more, need to dial it in a little bit more, but I think that's a great starting point for people, especially if they're just starting, because you don't have that macro Tetris at the end of the day where you're like, oh crap, I'm 20 grams of fat short, but 10 grams of carbs high, or, that can be tricky sometimes. So I think tracking calories and protein is a great start.
Great start. I totally agree. What would you say to somebody that's like tracking macros is hard to do?
I would say give it 2 weeks. I think honestly, it can be hard. It can be hard at first. It's just like anything that's worth it is hard at first. But if you give it 2 weeks, I mean, I don't know why 2 weeks. I've just heard that from a lot of our clients. Like after a couple of weeks, it just felt so much easier. It just becomes second nature. You might feel like pre-tracking your food the night before takes 30 minutes in the beginning, and it's just so tricky and you don't know how to do it. But with practice, it gets easy, and it can literally be life-changing. Like literally.
Amen. How about when people say I'm too busy and I can't track my food?
Then it's like, give me, like, pre-planning I think is huge, and if you're tracking and you pre-plan for 10 minutes, like do it while you're pooping the day before. Like, I don't care. You have time,
Amen. Yeah.
You're on the toilet scrolling social media. Just open.
I mean, I love that. That's hilarious. It's like priorities. It's like, like you're not too busy to sit down and watch Netflix at the end of the night. You're not, you choose that over prioritizing.
Pre-track your food while you're watching Netflix if you want to.
Yeah, go turn the volume up and go into the kitchen, barcode scan your food. It's like, I needed more votes towards, why macros are so good. What happens when people say they're too busy?
You got my vote.
Yeah. And why that's, it's the macro hour. We need to help people understand why macros are such a great tool. Not on their diet.
Yes.
We agree it's not on their diet. It's a tool.
No, not at all. And I don't like it. Pet peeve when people are like, well, I've done macros and that wasn't enough carbs for me. I'm like,
I've done macros. I've done macros and it didn't work for me. And I'm like,
yes. Wait.
What do you mean?
Yeah. What do you even say?
Not work it the right way?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Or they're like, I've done macros, I've done keto, I've done Whole30, and none of them worked. I'm like, no, that you don't understand macros if that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
because you can track
a little bit deeper. We need to get a little bit deeper. What's going on at a human level? Are you actually trying to do the thing, and are you successfully setting up the way you can do it? Maybe you've been guided.
And do you understand like what that even means? Because tracking macros is simply measuring the amounts of your carbs, fats, and protein that go into your body. You can do that eating keto, eating high protein, low carb, eating whatever you want to eat, eating junk food. You can track your macros eating ice cream and Snicker bars all day long. Yeah, McDonald's, exactly. And so it's just optimizing those and having that balanced approach that's going to be the key to making it work for you.
Yeah. Love it, Lindsey. Well, thank you. A couple last questions. Reflecting on your journey, what advice would you give your younger self, especially when you started your whole fitness career?
Yeah. Don't compete. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There's some pros to it. There's some
pros. There is. That's where I was going to go. I actually don't like hating on competing because there are a lot of pros to it. And I think it taught me discipline that has helped me with moderation, actually.
Yeah.
Because I know what the one side looks like. So I think advice to my younger self would be not to be so black or white thinking and not have that all or nothing mindset where if you miss one workout, that means your whole week was ruined because you didn't. I'm a very checkboxy person. Yeah. I like to finish a list. I like to check things off. And I felt like, if I missed a workout, it meant that I didn't have a perfect week. I wasn't completely on track all week. It's that black or white thinking that leads people to the pantry, to the fridge, to overeat because they think I didn't do it perfectly. So I'm just going to start over on Monday, And I would try to, tell myself to really just look at the whole picture and just kind of be more, what's the word? I don't know, just not so black or white, all in, all out kind of thing. Because when you have those extremes, it's really difficult to find the middle. But the middle is what you can be consistent with long-term. And that's where you'll have that long-term success.
Yes. And be happy now. Be happy now and enjoy your whole journey. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to put all your links below this. I know you're also new host of your Nourish and Strengthen podcast too as well.
Yes.
So listeners, definitely go give that a listen.
Thank you.
I'm going to put all your socials below, but where can they find you most?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Gals. Everyone can join that one. And then just Instagram and Facebook is where I hang out.
Amazing. So, well, Lindsey, thank you so much for being here today with us. Appreciate your
insight. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, your insight, your story, the transformation you've made, and the women that you're helping along the way too. Women and men, right? You coach both.
Yes. Cool. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Talk to you soon.
Real quick, the only ask I could ever have of you guys is to help spread the word so we can help more women lose body fat, build muscle, reach their goals, and feel insanely confident. And the only way we can do that is if you rate, review, and share this podcast. So the single thing I ask for you to do is if you could leave a review. It will take you 10 seconds, and it will mean the absolute world to me and may change the world of someone else.